This is the CitizenLink Report.
If you find our insights helpful, would you support our video efforts? Your gift of $25 or more goes a long ways. Covers the crew, lights, cameras, all that. Just click on Donate. Thanks from all of us.
Parents are speaking out about nationwide standards set for their kids, largely without their input. We'll tell you why Common Core is causing such a fuss. This is the CitizenLink Report. Hi, I'm Kim Troby, along with Candi Cushman, who follows education issues for Focus on the Family. Hi, Candi.
Hi, Kim.
So glad to have you here today.
It's good to be with you.
Thank you. The first thing that we want to do is we want to tell viewers about what Common Core is and how we got it.
Right. Well, at a real basic level, Common Core is a set of nationwide guidelines that's supposed to tell schools what kids kindergarten through 12th grade should know about math and English. And that sounds like a really good idea, right? Well, the problem is that parents and local school officials are concerned, a lot of them are concerned that this is really being done with a top-down approach, and there's heavy federal government involvement, and it's being done in a way that doesn't give parents enough ability to weigh in on the standards, because we know that standards drive what's on the curriculum. And also the federal government is directly funding the groups involved with developing the assessment tests for these standards. So, again, what's on the test drives the curriculum. And so what does a parent do if they're concerned about something that's trickling down into their school that says Common Core on it? Well, where do they go to bring that concern if it wasn't developed at the local or state level? Where can they go now?
Now, is it just these parental concerns, or are there other things at the heart of this move against Common Core?
Well, that's a great question, Kim. And, again, the idea of standards sounds good, and there probably are components within these standards that a lot of school districts and states could use some good things. But the problem is in how it's being done. And so the main concern when you look at it from a family ministry perspective, when you look at it representing the families that we do, is parental involvement. Because we all know, especially parents raising their kids, that every child has unique educational needs. They're not the same. So when this starts to look like a one-size-fits-all, top-down approach, where is the school accountable to the parents and students at the local level? And also, local educators are feeling like that their hands are tied in a lot of instances because they need to prepare kids for what's on these tests. So just to boil it all down, it's a parental rights concern and a local control concern, because standards traditionally have been done within the purview of states and local schools and districts, and now we're seeing that being taken away.
And from what I understand, it's not just affecting public schools.
That's right. That's another big concern with this. You have announcements that the major tests, the high school GRE, the college entry SAT, all of these are being aligned with Common Core. And so what does that mean for private schools, for homeschool families? Well, their children need to be prepared to do well on these tests, to compete. So again, that's taking the power out of their hands, really undermining the parental rights and school choice movement in a lot of ways. And I interviewed a lot of parents for an article I did for our Citizen magazine. It's called Education Without Representation. And I was talking to these parents who were in private schools, their kids were in private schools, and they were getting concerned about this math homework that was coming home. One parent had a third grader, for instance, that brought home math homework, and it was looking a lot like this kind of fuzzy math, where instead of traditional rigorous practice of mathematical equations, multiplication tables, what have you, they started to be asked things like, well, diagram how this math concept works. Explain how you got this answer. And so they were moving away, it looked like, from traditional math practice to more abstract, almost regurgitating descriptions of what they were doing. You're supposed to know by rote how to describe this concept. So, when the parents went to the schools and asked them, what's happening here? Why is our math homework changing? We're concerned. The school officials in this private school told them, well, my hands are pretty much tied. This is Common Core, and I have to prepare kids for what's on the test. And so we're starting to see that now that it's trickling down to local schools. So yeah, parents, even if you're in a private school or homeschooling, this should be of concern to you.
And speaking of some fuzzy math, you came across a video clip from the Colbert Show, and we want to show this for everybody right now. Take a look.
And I, for one, do not see why kids aren't nailing total gimmies like this next question. Mike saw 17 blue cars and 25 green cars at the toy store. How many cars did he see? Write a number sentence with a gray box for the missing number. Explain how the number sentence shows the problem. It's easy. And if for some reason you don't know what a number sentence is, I'm sure you could use a word equation or a formula paragraph. And there's proof. There is hard proof that the Common Core is already opening our children's minds to new ways of thinking. Just look at this actual answer to that question given by a California second grader. 17 plus 25 equals 42. I got the answer by talking in my brain, and I agreed of the answer that my brain got. In fact, that is the same answer I agreed of in my brain talk. Folks, this child has a bright future. He is only in second grade and can already clearly explain what it feels like to think. Now we just need to get him to explain what that feels like to whoever wrote the Common Core questions.
Okay, well, that's funny, but there is a lot of truth in it.
Well, it is true. That was an actual student. And a lot of times it seems like these students have more common sense than the Common Core stuff that's coming down at them. So thank goodness that student, is able to use his own brain like that.
Yes.
But parents, in all seriousness, parents are seeing more and more of these video clips of the homework coming home in the name of Common Core that's going viral of parents being concerned. And I think the bigger picture here is that there are a diversity of needs that students have. And this movement toward the centralization of education, toward a top-down approach, one size fits all, the federal government being heavily involved, that's what's concerning. And Kim, when we look at, well, what is the solution? That's where I feel like school choice really is a better solution. Because we do need to improve schools. No one can argue that education is in a crisis right now. But let's not solve that with a top-down approach with bureaucratic mandates. Let's do that with making schools accountable to parents' and students' unique needs, and school choice does do that.
When you say school choice, give our viewers just a quick overview of what you mean by that.
Well, what it means is that instead of parents not having control of how their education taxpayer money is being used, we give them control to allot how the taxpayer education money that's allotted for their child's education is used. So they could, for example, in Arizona, they have education savings accounts where some of that taxpayer money is put into the parents' account that they can control, and they get to direct how will my child best benefit from this, whether it's special needs, some tutoring that's needed. It gives them a lot of control, and I really think that puts schools in a position where they're answering to parents and not Washington, D.C. bureaucrats.
It just seems like this is another example of why people need to get involved in their government. Talk a little bit about what they can do.
Well, absolutely. The good news is that we're seeing some momentum with trying to drive back to parental rights and control, because right now there's a movement resisting the control that's coming through the Common Core trend. And so we have some 15 states now where they're backing away, taking steps away from this. Indiana became the first state to officially withdraw, and they've gone back to the table to come up with standards that will better reflect what their citizens want. So the parents have the momentum right now with the whole Common Core issue. But you still have some 44 states, a majority of states, that have signed on to this. They haven't moved away completely yet, so they still need to hear your voice. And I think doing something simple like bringing this Citizen magazine article, Education Without Representation article, which I think we can put at the bottom of this video, if you'll just print that out and share it with your neighbors, your school officials, your elected officials. A lot of people just don't even know about this yet, this centralization trend. Common Core is still unknown by a lot of people. So the more you can do to just get the word out, it's very important.
Candi, you always have great information. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Kim.
All right, we will put the link to that Citizen magazine article under the player on the page where you can get to this video, so look for that there. And we appreciate all of you who have written in and shared encouragement or concerns. You can always let us know what you're thinking at mail@citizenlink.com. And as always, we encourage you to pray for your elected officials and for our nation. And as always, stand tall and be heard.